2 months and 2 days. That's how far away or how close the college football season is. Ohio State's C.J. Stroud is the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy this season at plus 300. Close behind him, Alabama's Bryce Young, who won the award last season in a landslide. The Alabama signal caller currently sitting at plus 350. After that, there's a big drop off before we get to USC's Caleb Williams at plus 1,000. We bring in now our college football writer, Chip Patterson. Hope you are getting all your tailgating supplies ready because, Chip, game day, it's going to be here before we know it. And in there, pack your Buckeyes. We're heading to Columbus. C.J. Stroud, the favorite, plus 300 to win the Heisman this year. And Stroud is in this position as he was last year as a Heisman finalist. He came in 4th place in the voting. And, Chip, every year it seems we just expect great things from Ohio State. What do you think of Stroud coming away with the honor this year?
There's certainly a great possibility. It's going to be tough because the preseason Heisman favorite also always has such sky-high expectations from the moment you hit the ground running. And guess what, for Ohio State? That's going to start with Notre Dame. Of course, that could break the other way if the Buckeyes end up winning that game and Stroud is as prolific as he was in the Rose Bowl, connecting with Jackson Smith and Jigba over and over and over again. Well, then Stroud's Heisman campaign is going to take off. But I think he is absolutely a proper and a worthy preseason favorite just because of the way we saw him come on. Remember, early in the season, struggled a little bit in the loss to Oregon, missed a game as he was dealing with a shoulder injury. When he finally got healthy in the back half of the season, the results were absolutely impressive in a way that's going to make me think that losing 2 first-round picks at wide receiver is not going to slow this Ohio State passing attack. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be fantastic. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be fantastic. Julian Fleming, Emeka Egbuka. I'm just rolling off 5 stars, and that is how deep this wide receiver room is right now. So C.J. Stroud is going to put up numbers, but it's going to be the wins that he needs in order to win the Heisman Trophy as a quarterback for a team that we expect to compete for a national championship.
Well, in the 86 years of the Heisman being awarded, it was only Ohio State's Archie Griffin to win the award twice. Alabama's Bryce Young hopes to be the second on that list. And amazing, the success that Alabama's had as a program. Young became the first Bama quarterback to win the Heisman. Chip, how do you like the Alabama sophomore's chances of going back-to-back?
I don't like his chances, but I love his chances to be one of, if not the best quarterback in the country. The Heisman voters have shown that Archie Griffin legacy is something that creates almost an impossible situation because there have been multiple times, including most recently Lamar Jackson, where a Heisman Trophy winner has a follow-up season that, according to the numbers and even according to maybe even the wins or team success, could be even better. Lamar Jackson's numbers in 2017, when he was just a Heisman finalist, were in some aspects better than they were in 2016 when he was a Heisman Trophy winner. And so for Bryce Young, I've got this scenario where if you give me odds on Bryce Young to be a Heisman Trophy finalist, then I would absolutely love that because I think he's going to show up at number 2 and number 3 on a lot of those Heisman voter ballots. But I think that the legend of Archie Griffin makes it so difficult for any Heisman Trophy winner to win back-to-back that I do not think it's a great bet, at least not right now.
Well, moving down the board, next best odds are Caleb Williams at plus 1,000. He said, "See you later, Sooners." He followed his head coach Lincoln Riley to USC. Chip, contender or pretender for Williams to be the Heisman Trophy winner?
Contender. Lincoln Riley's success with having quarterbacks not only win the Heisman Trophy, but even be a Heisman finalist, it speaks for itself. And I do think that Williams making this move, along with a superstar wide receiver like Jordan Addison, a stud running back like Travis Dye, Mario Williams also came from Oklahoma. He's being set up with all the tools for USC to have one of the best offenses in the entire country. And Williams has that sort of dynamic playmaking ability where, as we saw in the Red River game against Texas, even as Oklahoma tried to make a charge in the close loss to Oklahoma State, if he gets out in the open field because you're so concerned about all the pass catchers, he's going to burn you for like a 50-yard run. And so when you're able to get that dynamic playmaking ability with his legs, with a great passing attack that we know are going to put up numbers, absolutely, I think that Caleb Williams is a contender for the Heisman Trophy.
Texas QB Quinn Ewers is likely to be the starter this year. He transferred from Ohio State with Stroud really taking command of that position. But this is Ewers' chance. He needs to take a firm hold of that starting position with the commitment of Arch Manning to the Longhorns. We're going to get into that. But Ewers got the great flow under his helmet, Chip. How about on the field?
A superstar, no doubt. But I'm going to say pretender here. I think that if you want a Heisman Trophy candidate from Texas, it's going to be someone who's been a superstar at Texas, whose name is already recognizable across college football. I would almost go with Bijan Robinson. And because we've got that vote-splitting scenario, then I'm going to go with the pretender side for Quinn Ewers. Again, it has nothing to do with my expectations for the season, because when you get Xavier Worthy back, when you go and get Isaiah Neyor from the transfer portal, they've got really, really good wide receivers. But again, it is that proven running back, Bijan Robinson, who can get it done catching passes out of the backfield, who can be a big play threat. Now, I think that that creates a scenario where who the MVP is of this Texas Longhorns offense, at least initially, it might be a little difficult for Heisman Trophy voters to figure out. Bijan Robinson will be off to the NFL, and then we can talk about our Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning discussion. I think Quinn Ewers will be very, very good, but in terms of the Heisman Trophy, I think there's a lot of talent at that running back position that could make it tough to win.
I do want to touch, though, on the Ewing-Manning connection here. He's almost having to look over his shoulder already, because earlier this week, Arch Manning did commit to the Longhorns. He's joining the program for the 2023 season. How does that commitment complicate things for Ewers with the Longhorns?
I don't think it complicates anything for Ewers because he's already spent 1 year at Ohio State. And I think that Quinn Ewers is eyeing the NFL draft. So we are looking at, if Quinn Ewers is going to be 3 years and then on to the NFL draft as soon as he's eligible, that means only 1 year of crossover. And I will tell you that Steve Sarkisian would very much prefer to go into the 2023 season with Quinn Ewers having had a full season of experience as a starter and then Arch Manning as his backup, and allow them to go out and compete and allow them to try to bring out the best in each other. But then even Arch Manning, wouldn't you rather be able to have the advantage that a lot of star quarterbacks have had of being able to spend that season getting your feet under you? Who knows? You always have the potential of injury and Arch's number getting called early. But right now, I think the plan for that Texas offensive staff is to just have 1 year with both of them on the roster. I don't look at this as something that automatically means Arch is in, Ewers is going to be hitting the portal, because you do have to take into consideration quarterback depth and being able to get that position in a place where Manning, then when it's his turn, has already been in college football for a while, been in the weight program and gotten accustomed to what they want to do in Austin. So I'm not looking at Ewers to bolt, but I am keeping in mind that Ewers, having already spent 1 year at Ohio State, he's probably not at Texas for much longer anyway.
Well, I'm sure this will not be the last we have a conversation about Manning there at Texas. But, Chip, I looked back at Clemson's schedule from last year and I'm surprised that they lost only 3 games. Shows the program that Dabo Swinney is building there. DJ Uiagalelei ended the season on a 6-game winning streak, including their bowl game. The sophomore odds of being the best in college football this season are plus 3,500. How do you look at DJ's odds this season?
I think that he will improve, but the Heisman Trophy, that is going to be leaps and bounds that I do not think that will happen from this quarterback. And most of it has to do with the way that I think Clemson is going to operate, because I think that Clemson is going to have one of the 2 or 3 best defenses in the country. And you mentioned that 6-game winning streak that Clemson went on, and DJ Uiagalelei as the starting quarterback of that 6-game winning streak. Well, he still wasn't really prolific. In fact, the Clemson passing attack was one of the 2 or 3 worst in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and it was very subpar on a national level, especially compared to the other teams that won 9 or 10 games at the end of the year. This is going to be a Clemson team that I think leans on its defense, a defensive line that has Brian Brzee, Myles Murphy, just future NFL draft picks. And DJ might be a little bit more of a game manager. They've got excellent running backs in Will Shipley and Kobe Pace. I mean, I'm basically putting together an argument for why DJ Uiagalelei might have 11 wins as a starting quarterback. But when we're comparing his statistics, I just don't know if the numbers are going to be there, because the safe play for Clemson is to be a defense-led team, and that doesn't always lead to the kind of stats that you need in the modern era to go and win a Heisman Trophy. In 1970, whatever, maybe, but this is 2022, and you got to be able to air that thing out if you want to hold the stiff arm trophy.
All right, if you think they can get to 11 wins, what do you need to see from DJ to remember what the days were like with Trevor Lawrence and Clemson at the top of the country, really, in college football?
It's going to be better footwork, better balance. When he gets out there on the move, he needs to be able to limit the mistakes. And we're talking about a quarterback who almost had even touchdown to interception ratios. The Heisman Trophy winners have things like, 30 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. And when we're talking about 10 and 9, that is incredibly pedestrian. And for somebody who is a 5-star prospect, for somebody who came out as one of the top quarterbacks in the entire country, is very disappointing. It is additionally disappointing, and this is why I believe he can be better. He came out as a true freshman when Trevor Lawrence was sidelined with COVID-19, threw for 400 yards in South Bend. They lost in double overtime, but the man threw for 400 yards against a Notre Dame Fighting Irish defense. I believe that there is a ceiling in there, but some of the decision-making, some of the footwork, some of the small pieces that they've really been working on. And look, DJ and the Clemson offensive staff, they have been open about what they are working on. That's how I'm able to feel confident reporting it to you. But now we got to see the results on the field. It's been a lot of offseason of work, a lot of offseason of talk about that work, but we need different results if Clemson's passing attack is going to take a big step this season.
Yeah, we saw some glimpses of the potential there. Chip, we've broken down the top Heisman contenders and some pretenders, according to you. Who do you think is jumping out as the best bet to win the Heisman this year?
We're going out to Troy. We're going to Caleb Williams. And I think that you want to get this right now because you are not going to get this number on Caleb Williams. I think USC is going to start 6-0 on the season, and Caleb Williams is going to be a big part of that. And that means that by the time things get really difficult, and I will admit they will get difficult, at Utah, that's really tough. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman's going to have that Fighting Irish defense cooked up, something special for Caleb Williams. But all that's going to come at the back half of the season. It's an incredible runway for the Trojans to build up confidence throughout the season. And so when we're trying to look at these odds, I say you want to go grab Caleb Williams right now, because by the time we get to the midpoint of the season, his odds are going to be looking more like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young's, up there in that 3-1 range. So when you're able to get 10-1 because of the stats that he's going to pad against Rice, Stanford, Fresno State, Oregon State, Arizona State, and Washington State, well, you want to make sure that you go ahead and grab that now, because he's a decent chance, as you can see, being third on the odds board to win it. And the difference between him and the top of the board means you want to get Caleb Williams, so you're holding it when they get off to that 6-0 start.
The odds for USC to win a national championship is plus 2,500. Chip, what do you think of that price?
I'm not taking that until Lincoln Riley wins a college football playoff game. He did a great job at Oklahoma getting to the college football playoff, but they also lost a lot of semifinals. Some of them were really close. I mean, the epic against Georgia back in the Rose Bowl, a few bounces one way or the other. Maybe the Sooners end up playing for the national championship against Alabama, not the Georgia Bulldogs. But I'd still think that looking at those Oklahoma teams, the way that they lined up against those teams from the SEC or a Clemson definitely suggested that there was still a little bit more to be put together. And so I think on the offensive line for USC this season, I would need to be blown away by the improvement. And defensively, I just don't think that they've got enough of the dudes to win the national championship. Could they make the college football playoff? Yes. Could they win the Pac-12? Yes, they are my pick. But winning 2 games against some of the best teams in the country requires you to have almost no holes and a high level of talent that I think is still going to take another year or two for Lincoln Riley to build that roster into where he wants to be. So USC to make the playoff, hey, you might get plus odds on that. But USC to win the national championship, even something this juicy is not going to entice me.
All right, not sold, but we appreciate the time as always. Chip Patterson, thank you. All right, let's
do a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game, the highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.